I need you to go to a secret, undisclosed location that is most known for its secretivity and its undisclosedness. Now let's do it. My car broke down. Well, I guess I'm gonna be out here for a while until the repairman comes to fix my car. But it's whatever. It's good to take a break every once in a while from driving, especially when traffic is bad. I mean, sometimes when traffic gets really crazy, my palms get sweaty. I guess you could say I get wet hands. Wet hands, like, you know, like the song from... Okay, we're talking about the Minecraft soundtrack. Yep, that's right. We're talking about Minecraft. I know, it's a little underrated, so you probably haven't heard of it. I've mentioned it in the past, but Minecraft in so many ways has been a part of my life, for better or for worse. But obviously, because this is a music channel, let's talk about the tunes. The Minecraft soundtrack created by Daniel Rosenfeld, or better known as C418, has sort of become a modern-day fan favorite when it comes to video game soundtracks. Thanks to its simplistic melodies, calming ambient atmospheres, and overall chill vibes, the Minecraft soundtrack has become one of the most respected and popular soundtracks of the last decade. Yup, it's popular because it's good music. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's the soundtrack to one of the most popular games of all time. Absolutely no connection at all. In all seriousness, for the longest time, I personally feel like the Minecraft soundtrack sort of flew under the radar. It wasn't that people didn't like the music, not at all. Just for some weird reason, there was this odd 4-year period where everyone fucking hated Minecraft. It wasn't that it was a bad game. It's just that Minecraft was a dumb, stupid baby, stupid, dumb baby block game for dumb, stupid babies. But beginning in 2019, everyone finally hopped off the Minecraft hate train and instead got onto the nostalgia mobile. Everyone started to love Minecraft again, and with that, people returned to the game's music and almost instantly fell in love. In fact, many YouTube videos came out absolutely praising C418's Minecraft Volume Alpha album for being a near perfect musical backdrop to the game. And don't get me wrong, those videos are great, but I just feel like they always forgot to talk about one thing. They forgot a whole fucking album. Everyone loves to praise this game's fantastic soundtrack, but all this praise is usually placed onto the Minecraft Volume Alpha album, aka the first Minecraft album, and not the larger, more bold of the two soundtrack records, Minecraft Volume Beta. And I somewhat understand, Volume Alpha holds a lot more of the simplistic piano cuts like Sweden, Wet Hands, and Beginning, which just ooze of nostalgia. Volume Beta doesn't really hold that same quirk. Sure, it has many songs like Area Math, Biome Fest, and all the remaining music discs from the game that are all fan favorites, but they don't hold that same nostalgic feeling with them. But does that make these tracks worse? Hell no. Actually, hot take, but Minecraft Volume Beta, in my opinion, is better than Minecraft Volume Alpha. I know, sue me. Personally, I feel like this side of the game's soundtrack is heavily overlooked and not shown the same love as the earlier tracks are. So I felt like it'd be fun to finally give this album the appreciation it so desperately deserves and talk about why it succeeds not only at being an amazing musical companion to an amazing game, but just a phenomenal album on its own. God, where the hell is this guy?
Scott! Oh my god, it's you, Scott! I cannot believe it's you, Scott! Oh my god, Scott, it's a pleasure. I'm your biggest fan. I watched all your videos. I play Dick Vitale all the time, Madden 08. Oh my... I met you 3 years ago at ScottCon. We talked about Scott and you. You are Scott! I know you're Scott. You have to be. You literally are Scott.
My name's Luke.
Scott?
So, what's your name?
Well, my name's actually Repairman Mann. But for you, Scott, you can just call me Mr. Man.
Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Man. You really are the man for doing this.
No problem, man.
Why are you talking to yourself? Many people would describe the sound of both Minecraft Volume Alpha and Minecraft Volume Beta as ambient. And they're right. However, I feel like it's a lot more nuanced than that. Both albums are ambient, of course, but Volume Alpha is much more minimalist and simplistic with its production, as well as going for a much more lighthearted and playful tone. This is vastly different from Volume Beta. While this album holds on to the same Minecraft type feel you get with the first album, it fully embraces the stylistic soundscapes of genres like IBM, modern classical, and most significantly, dark ambient music, creating a much more eerie and unsettling atmosphere than seen on the first album. This shift in mood can be noticed in all of the tracks that play in the Nether, like Dead Voxel, Concrete Halls, and Ballad of the Cats. It's actually pretty noticeable from the very beginning with the song Key, spelled K-I, which is a much darker, synthier version of the intro song on Volume Alpha, Key, spelled K-E-Y. Another huge difference between Volume Beta and Volume Alpha is the structure of the songs themselves. On the 24 tracks found on Volume Alpha, many of them are very simple, short, and straight to the point, normally clocking in around the 2 to 3 minute mark, and the album being just under 1 hour in total length. However, on Volume Beta, C418 adopts some progressive structure to the tracks, creating a much longer, more dense record, clocking in at 2 hours and 20 minutes. Some songs on Volume Beta aren't too long, especially near the end where those songs are usually 3 to 4 minutes long. However, before all those tracks, the songs on this album are very progressive and build over time, creating tracks that are much lengthier, with some like the end reaching up to 15 minutes in time. Some people would label the progressive nature of this project as a negative. I've read plenty of reviews from people that say the nearly 2.5 hour playtime makes this album a slog to get through. And I understand that it may be tiring to get through an album that long, but why is that necessarily a bad thing? With that logic, every album longer than 1 hour should suck, right? I would somewhat understand if the track list was super bloated with songs that aren't memorable, sort of like Drake's Scorpion. But Minecraft Volume Beta is track after track just phenomenal music. Sure, maybe more of a task to listen to the entire project from start to finish. That's going to be difficult with any album that's longer than usual. But just because a record is lengthier than normal doesn't automatically mean it's not as good as it could have been. To sum it up, the darker angle this record goes for compared to its predecessor is much welcomed and arguably adds way more depth and emotion to the album as a whole.
Yeah, here's the vehicle. It just stopped working.
Yeah, she's banged up pretty good, but it still looks pretty nice for a black Toyota.
Yep, that's right. A black Toyota. And definitely not a gray Ford that I had to use because my real life black Toyota is being worked on right now.
This black Toyota has been in every single video so far. This is the same car.
Every single one.
Everyone. Well, all right, man. I'm gonna start working on your car. It might be a little bit, so if you need to do anything, just go ahead and do it.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Anyways, that was the sound of the album, so you might be wondering, Luke, what do you actually think of it? Well, I have to say, this album is pretty good.
Who are you talking to right now?
The audience?
This is why I love you, Scott.
If you haven't been able to tell already, I love this album. Like, quite a lot actually. But I have to talk about something in this section other than saying I love it. So I think a good way to start is to tell you how I go about listening to this album. Based on how the songs are placed, I like to view this thing as a double album in spirit. The first half of the record I will consider the tracks from the main game, this side ending with the song The End, while the second half of the album is mostly the music disc from the game, and this side ends with the song Intro. The reason I like to separate this album in half is because there is an obvious switch in tone right after the end and can even be distinguished by the vinyl crackling at the back of the track. The first half that's filled with the songs from the main game embraces the darker vibe I discussed earlier more, while the second half is much more varied stylistically, so to me it sounds like two albums in one. Honestly, while I think the first half is definitely the stronger of the two, I return to the second half more just because it's a lot easier to put on songs like Ward and Wait at any time over something like Driatin or Floating Trees. Finally, I think splitting the album in two sections makes listening to this thing in full less taxing. This is because after I listen to the first half, I can give myself a break before moving on to the second half, only if I need to, of course. Sometimes I really prefer to just trek forward like a true soldier and listen to the record in its 2 hour and 20 minute glory. Now, let's discuss other aspects about the album that stick out to me the most. I already talked about the overall sound of the record, which honestly is most of the reason I enjoy this album so much. But there is one other reason I feel the music excels in the way it does, and that's C418's use of repetition. Repetition can be a dangerous tool when producing music. On one hand, repetitive music when done incorrectly can get tiring and bland after multiple listens. I think the best way to describe this is if you've ever tried making a beat on GarageBand and you use the pre-installed loops to make a generic hip-hop beat. Yeah, it gets the job done, but it can be insanely boring to listen to over and over again. This is because if nothing changes throughout the track, like adding new instruments or melodies, the repetition will end up hurting the track. In fact,
fact, early in his career, C418 was guilty of this exact same thing. Specifically on his earliest projects, BPS and mixes, it sounded like a bunch of loops playing for 3 to 4 minutes and it hurt the quality of those projects. However, great repetition is more than possible, and when done correctly, can create music that has an amazing psychedelic or hypnotic feel. I'd say Minecraft Volume Beta's repetitive sound creates a vibe more in the hypnotic and meditative area. Also, coupled with the dark overtones of the album, that makes the record have a calm yet ominous feel that is just so unique. But the question is, what makes some repetitive music better than other repetitive music? Well, the answer is two things: harmony and dynamics, both of which C418 makes fantastic use of on this album. As simple as it sounds, to make his songs sound more varied and textured, all C418 really has to do to strike gold is to occasionally add a new instrument in, add a new melody every once in a while, and raise or lower the volume of specific elements in the track. By doing this, it keeps the same repetitive looping feel while simultaneously making the tracks feel fresh throughout the entire song. While he's done it his entire career, I feel like this album is when Daniel perfected it in the ambient genre. The songs on this album compared to his other ambient work just hit so much harder. Speaking of the songs on this album, they are some of C418's best work to date. They are remarkable and honestly breathtaking at some points. However, I don't want to have you sitting here all day listening to me tell you about each and every song, so I thought I'd tell you some of my personal favorite tracks and why I feel like they stand out so much. Alpha. My god. What hasn't been said about this track already? Only being the second song on the album, it is easily one of the best and most extravagant out of the bunch. It's essentially a 10-minute long piece of modern classical music, of course with elements of electronic sputtered throughout, and this track sounds like it came straight out of a movie. It's so grand and cinematic with its great use of percussion and swelling strings that grow larger in size and sound throughout the song up until the trance-like ending that sends the track out perfectly. As well as being a great introduction to the album, it also is a great lead-in from the previous Minecraft soundtrack album, incorporating elements from many songs on that release, such as Moog City and Sweden. So all in all, a fantastic opening song. Blind Spots is a much lighter cut compared to the songs that come before it, and it is much needed. The track subtly incorporates some light percussion elements, but for the most part, the song is best when the instruments get space to harmonize with each other. I'd say this is one of the best examples of harmony on this entire project. While each instrument has its own unique melody, all of them played together is just a beautiful mess of sound that is pure bliss to the ears. Haunt Muskie is another song in the same vein as Blind Spots, and when further inspected, I wouldn't be surprised if they were made right after the other because they both are near identical in sound. However, I'd say that this song has a much more grand exit thanks to the progression of the track and the rise in intensity with the piano chords. Really great stuff here. Warmth is one of my favorite songs from the Nether just because of the static that's cascaded over the deep synths used in the song. During the duration of the cut, the synths grow louder and louder, and while they get louder, the static becomes even more textured and creates a super unique vibe that you don't see anywhere else on the record. Tazwell. It's super chill. It's amazing. Need I say more? The end. What else can I say about this 15-minute behemoth? It is by far the most experimental song on the album and sounds absolutely haunting. What begins as a scuffed recording of the song Minecraft from Volume Alpha turns into a hellish soundscape of literal white noise and heavily edited sections from older songs in the game. It is phenomenal, but it's definitely the hardest listen on the album though, and pretty much all the music discs. They are just as great as they are in the game, and now can be listened at a way higher quality. Even the song 11 is on here, but it's not the same track as it is in the game. In the game, it's just a pretty freaky audio file, but on this album, it's a small but gorgeous piano cut. My favorites out of these discs have to be Wait, Strad, Blocks, and Far. Oh, and Stall. Stall is a banger. I get it's a meme to hate on the song, but my god, it's still great. Sure, it sounds like a mini blues song, but that's the charm of the track. Finally, the last song on this album, Intro, is, in my humble opinion, one of the best outros to any album ever made. That's a bold claim, I know, but it is totally deserving of it. I'm not even gonna describe what the song sounds like, just go listen to it.
Dude, what are you doing?
You know what, Scott? When you've been in the business as long as I have, 30 years, you learn a thing or two about how to use the only tools you need. These.
Dude, just fix my fucking car.
Now, before I close out, I do want to talk about a few things. While this video is sort of all over the place, it being sort of a review, sort of a retrospective, one thing is certain: the album is great. But it's also important, both for C418's career and myself. Regarding C418, this record is sort of his magnum opus in a way, when it comes to ambient music at least. I would argue his real magnum opus is 148, but that's an entirely different video for another day. As stated earlier, on Minecraft Volume Beta, C418 fully embraced progressive song structures and elements from modern classical music. However, this was the first time he had done this to such a great level. He had tried creating modern classical music in the past, specifically on the song Stillbrush from his 2011 album 72 Minutes of Fame. And while it's a really good song, it was way different from the music he had been making up to that point. As for progressive tracks that build over time, he also tried that on 72 Minutes of Fame, albeit with house music and not ambient music. Minecraft Volume Beta was the first time Daniel was able to combine these two elements into an ambient record that sounded unique to him. After this album, he would pretty much stick with that sound going forward, creating the modern C418 sound we know of today. And that's why it's important to C418. As for me, this album is important because it was a gateway for me to discover so many different genres of music. Ambient music led me to listen to more artists in the same vein, as well as other sides of electronic music, leading me to artists such as Aphex Twin and Flume. And from there, I just went crazy discovering exciting new music. So, in a weird way, Minecraft Volume Beta sorta crafted my modern day music taste. I don't know if that's beautiful or just embarrassing. I'll go with the first thing. Anyways, in conclusion, Minecraft Volume Beta is god tier music. It is severely overshadowed and deserves your attention right now. I'm gonna give it a yeah. Hell yeah. Out of 10.
Well, Scott, I'm pretty proud of myself. She's all shaped up. If you wouldn't mind, just write your review right here for me.
What is this? Do you like wear your reviews on your head?
I'm pretty much my own walking Yelp board.
Look, man, I'm not even gonna give you a review. It doesn't even look like you fixed my car.
Oh, I didn't.
Dude, I literally hired you to repair my car. You're a repairman.
Listen, Scott, don't call me that. I didn't want to be a repairman. My father and his father were repairmen.
But I hired you to—
Shut up! Shut up, Scott! He named me repairman. I wanted to be a doctor, but life, it doesn't turn out that way. Society is unfair. It puts labels on us and treats us like crap until we're old and useless.
Look, man, whatever. Are you really telling me that my car can't be fixed?
I'm sorry, but nothing can fix this car. Not even these.
God, I guess I really am stuck out here. Stuck in the middle of nowhere with a car that won't even start.
So, about that review.